welcome back to what is this, episode 4 now? We've
Four,
done
yeah.
4 episodes? Wow.
Yep.
All right. Uh, yeah, this is episode 4 of the Full Count Media podcast. My name is Alden, and I'm a stats guy, although today I come bearing 0 stats.
And I'm Jim, and I come bearing a lot of stats and a lot of numbers that is going to be very shocking for you.
I'm into it. Uh, a lot has happened since we last talked. There's been a lot of baseball. Most teams have played 2 full series since the last time we talked. And it's still early enough in the year that I figured instead of going over just what's happened over the last 2 series, I would just kind of give a division by division recap over how each division is shaping up at this point and maybe a little foresight into how I think they're going to shape up.
Okay.
So, with that in mind, I'll cue my imaginary music again. And here we go. The American League East is looking like the AL Beast that they were referred to as a few years back, with all 5 teams currently sitting at 500 or better. The Yankees have been tearing it up earlier in the season, starting 10-2 over the first 2 weeks, but with Toronto and Tampa Bay at the bottom at 6-6 and only 4 games back, their lead is far from safe at this point in the season. The Red Sox have surprised some folks, sitting at 7-4, while Tyler O'Neill finds himself on the top of the home run leaderboards in the American League. Though they did just lose 2 pieces in Nick Pivetta and Trevor Story, so we'll see how that pans out. The Orioles continue to play solid baseball, and Corbin Burnes keeps looking like an excellent acquisition and a potential Cy Young winner because he's just doing that well.
Did you hear about Jack Holiday?
Yeah, hang on.
Okay.
With their fans now, at the time this is released, having had their first look at Jackson Holiday. There's a lot to be excited about in Baltimore.
Yes.
The AL Central favorite, the Twins, find themselves behind some surprise candidates early in the year, but the White Sox seem to have found their groove as the bottom feeders and don't look to be on the rise anytime soon. The Royals and Tigers both currently sit at 7-4, and their oddly constructed rosters seem to be doing the most with not a lot, and they could end up finding themselves battling it out for third at the end of the year. The big shock thus far has been the Guardians, who currently rank 4th in the American League in slugging and OPS, despite their supposed soft-hitting lineup, leading the way for now at 8-3. No one in the American League West looks poised for dominance at this point in the season. The Rangers are just struggling to find any kind of consistent quality pitching, and they are tied atop the division at 6-5 with the Angels, who have Mike Trout, and they're getting some big acquisitions from some guys that they really missed last year in Logan O'Hoppe and Taylor Ward.
Did you see the stats on Mike Trout?
He had like at the time he had like 4 home runs and 4 RBIs.
He has 10 home runs and 10 RBIs. They're all solo home runs, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep. I thought that was funny.
The Astros are scuffling bad to start the year, and unless that kid Blanco is on the mound, they seem like they're fighting themselves when it comes to scoring and giving up runs, and they're sitting at 4-8, and they're tied for last with the Mariners, who just haven't found a groove at all. Luis Castillo has not looked like Luis Castillo through 3 starts. Their lineup isn't really meshing all that well. It's early, but it's not going to be easy to fight back for either team if the Rangers get some pitching consistency, especially because come the All-Star break, they're supposed to get DeGrom, Scherzer, and maybe Tyler Mahle back at that time. That's 3 really big starters on the horizon for a really good offense that just needs some pitching. The A's are 4-7. They're no longer being referred to by the city that they're from starting next season, so I figure we might as well just start doing that now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have anything good to say about the A's right now. It's not that I dislike the team. Honestly, I've never disliked that team. I think they're really fun. I think that their catchers look like a fun combo. But my issue with them is that they like to send their best players down to the minors for having opinions.
or or trade them away.
Or well, so I don't know if you heard the story this year that they had two kids
Oh
that
yeah,
were
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like the two best sluggers on the team to start the year after the first series. They sent them both down to AAA because they were wearing bracelets that said "sell the team." It, you have what 2,000, 3,000 fans that show up at every game. You can't be taking the best product that you can put on the field away from those 2,000 or 5,000, whatever it is, people that still support you.
It's I uh, I think that the owner should have sold last year, so that way the A's fans had something to look forward to this year. But that's my
I
opinion.
I I agree with that, and I also think that it's ridiculous to send someone down to the minor leagues because you got your feelings hurt. Like
Yeah.
we're professionals here. You send me down for a reason that's a real reason, not because I made your feelings upset.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Moving over to the National League, the Dodgers have found their place at the top of the NL West with a 10-4 record, and it doesn't really seem like they're going anywhere anytime soon. Um, the
No,
Padres, the Giants, and the Diamondbacks will probably continue to flip around between the middle of that division. So they all sit between 4-8 and 6-8 right now. So I mean that's I guess sort of promising for you. I don't think any of them are like gonna run away with it. I mean, I know you would like the Giants to have a better record right now, but
oh, of
the
course I
fact
love that.
that the fact that no one is really taking control of second place has to make you feel a little better.
It makes me a little better, but I have watched a good majority of the Giants games, and they need to find a way to mesh better. I also think when San Francisco gets its three starters back, it has a chance for improvement.
And then to round out that division, we got the Rockies. Um,
It's
they're
like
just going to keep doing Rockies things and keep the floor warm for the rest of the teams out there.
the Athletics of the National League.
Well, I
Well,
have a different National League team for that in a moment,
all
but
right.
the Central looks about right with the Brewers and the Cubs both sitting at 7 wins. Wait, what the hell? The Pirates have 9 wins, guys.
Yeah,
And I know Jimmy's kind of smiling over there because his brother is a big Pirates fan. But
yes, there is.
I just, if I'm a Pirates fan, I can't help but to think back to last year where they had that crazy fast rocket ship of a start. And then come Memorial Day and 4th of July, you're looking at the standings going, hey, wait, where'd that 9-game lead we had disappear to? Why is this happening? Why are we suddenly 3-7 over our last 10 games?
Didn't they almost lose like 100 games last year?
Yeah, they started out unbelievably hot and then they fell even harder.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but there's no reason not to be excited now, I don't think, if you're a Pirates fan. Like, why not? Ride this while it lasts, and if it lasts
Enjoy
all
it.
season,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts.
The Reds are at 6-5. They're in fourth place, and it's probably gonna be a pretty competitive division with the Cardinals rounding it out at 6-6, even though they are currently playing the Phillies, so they could also have a winning record shortly. Spoiler alert: they don't. The Phillies just beat them. 6-7 now,
Yep. Game's over as of the time of the recording.
and last but not least, we got the East. Uh, the Braves are currently the only team with a winning record, sitting at 7-3. But they did just lose Spencer Strider for the rest of the year. And so I think that while they do have a 2-game lead now that the Phillies just won, I think that they're going to need to build that out a little bit more because the Phillies bats have not come alive yet at all. And I mean, with names like Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper and Trey Turner and Nick Castellanos and JT Realmuto, they're going to.
Mhm.
So you kind of have to you got to build on this lead while they're scuffling if you're the Braves, because without Spencer Strider, your rotation is back to kind of what it was last year, but worse because you're not replacing someone with Spencer Strider, you're replacing Spencer Strider,
Right.
who won, I think, 18 games last year. So, and then, I mean, the Nationals are currently tied. Well, now they're a half game back of the Phillies, but I don't really expect them to stay in third because the Mets, as much as they're not going to be a playoff team this year, in my opinion, they have had a horrifically unlucky offensive start. Uh, Three of their guys have like expected batting averages like 200 or 300 full points over what their actual batting averages are. So they're just hitting really, really hard line drives and fly balls at people,
Yep.
which isn't fun no matter what level you're playing at. And then to round it out, all of baseball, it's only fair, I think, that we mention the undoubtedly last place team in baseball right now. Last. Uh, they're 1-11. They started 0-9. Uh, that's the worst start for any team since 2006, and it's the worst by far that the Marlins have ever had. I mean, I will give them the fact that they've only been around for a little over 25 years, but 1-11 after making the playoffs last year.
Really.
All of their pitchers are hurt pretty much. I think they have the same situation kind of the Giants are in, where they have like two healthy starting pitchers, and then they've got like middle relief guys starting games for them, even though they
Yeah.
are really bullpen guys.
Yeah, that's what San Francisco's number two starter was our long relief guy. So
Right. So I feel for them a little bit, but it's bad over in Miami right now.
I still think, regardless of pitching quality, you still need to have a way to get hits and get on base and score runs. Like, you can't blame all of the losses on pitching, though.
You can blame a good majority of them because they have gotten out to like 4 and 5 run leads in like the first inning. Like
Mhm.
Jazz Chisholm hit a grand slam in the first inning the other night, and I think they lost that game like 9-5.
Okay, so blame the pitching. All right.
That's what I'm getting at. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
What did I miss? I know I covered it like on the basic level, but is there anybody who's lighting it up right now?
So I have top performers of April so far.
Okay.
I kind of made a mistake of only going batters, so I have a page on the side that gives me the pitchers. But for the top performers of April so far, hitting wise, we have Yordan Alvarez with 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. He's got a 517 batting average and a 1.03 slugging percentage right now. Yeah, so he's doing a little work. And then
Yikes.
and then for the National League, we have Marcell Ozuna at 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, a 423 batting average, and a .962 slugging percentage. So he's up there. And then I did a little bit of an honorable mention, since there's like the gaps between like the top 5-10 guys on each side were really close. I have, for the American League, honorable mention is Isaac Paredes. He has 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 370 batting average, and a 741 slugging. And then for the National League, Spencer Steer has 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, a 400 at batting average, and an 800 slugging. So not too bad. And then when it comes to the pitching side, for the AL, they have Tanner Houck.
I think
Sure,
that's right.
sure, that's what I'm going to go with. He's got 2 games, 12 innings pitched. He has a 12.75 K per 9, and a 1.5 walk per nine. He does not show me anything on here. Where?
That's what you ever not come prepared, folks.
Yeah.
You're on the spot and you got to find stats.
He's got an ERA of 0 right now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's got 100% left on base percentage too. That's awesome.
Holy. Well, yeah, I mean, he's got an ERA of 0.
Yeah. And then Tyler Glass now is the National League pitcher. He's got 13 innings pitched. He's got a 14.5 K per nine and a 1.3 walk per nine.
Wow.
He's got an ERA of 2. Who's that guy? Shota Imanaga for the Cubs.
Yeah, he's one of the new Japanese players from this year.
He's 1-0 with 2 games played. He's got 10 innings pitched, an 11 K per nine, a 0 walk per nine, and also a 0 ERA. Wow. So
All right.
yeah. That's what I get for coming unprepared. I get to look at stats, and I'm not a stats guy, but I'm rather impressed on what I'm seeing with some of these players.
All right. So
No
we want
problem.
to we want to move on to my topic.
Go ahead, because my topic's going to take a little bit of time.
I think mine will too, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. So if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of pitchers getting injured lately, and it's kind of been going on since last year, and even into the a little bit into the year before as well. Um, this year, 132 pitchers started the year on the IL. And Tommy John is getting a lot more frequent. I mean, it's we've had Spencer Strider go down. He may or may not need the surgery. They're going to figure it out, but he's probably out for the year regardless. We just had Shane Bieber go down, who started off having a fantastic start to the year.
He was on our top 5, wasn't he?
Bieber, he
Yeah,
was. I think
on
he
one
made
of
our
us.
top 10. I don't know if he made anybody's top 5, but yeah, I'd have to go back and check that. But I mean, it's kind of becoming just like common, and I mean, it's becoming a lot more regular that pitchers can make a comeback from it too. But I don't think it's good with how frequent we're seeing pitchers go down and need the surgery.
Well, it would be interesting to look into like more of the numbers and the stats on it of how many of them are more of a breaking ball specialist comparatively to a fastball specialist.
Well, so it's definitely no. Go ahead.
No, I'm trying to just clear my throat.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, I got like
It's
nothing behind that.
it's definitely more prominent in guys that throw harder, but like Bieber isn't a flamethrower. He throws probably 94, 95, but it's I think it comes a lot. I mean, personally, so I know that a lot of people talk about the pitch clock having a big impact and everything like that because now these guys are rushing through
Mm-hmm.
their procedures and their pre-pitch breathing or whatever they needed to do to get ready to pitch. But I think it goes back even a little further than that. I think that's the most recent big change that people have to blame. So I think that's what people go back to. But I think if you go a little further back, they banned sticky stuff like spider tack and any of that stuff like
Mm-hmm.
halfway through the season before that. Or maybe it was the season before the season before, but either way, like they started really cracking down and you still saw a lot of people get caught with it the year after they cracked down and after they cracked down with it. And Tyler Glasnow, who you had just mentioned is having a great start to the year, is coming off of a Tommy John surgery,
Mm-hmm.
signing with the Dodgers. He got injured last year. Maybe it's not a Tommy John, but it was an injury that required surgery. and he's back now. But what he talked about is that when they banned the sticky stuff, people had to replicate the spin rates that they had been getting with it,
Mm-hmm.
not because it made them look like they had been using it and cheating. I don't think anybody really cared about that. I think what they cared about is the fact that if you weren't replicating those spin rates, your curveball wasn't going to break as much, or your fastball wasn't going to be as tight and hard to hit.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they were worried about is inflated ERAs. I mean, which makes sense. You don't want your professional or your personal numbers to increase significantly because you now aren't throwing the ball as well. But I also think that it makes sense to me that gripping the ball harder to get increased spin rate would put more stress on everything. And I
Okay.
understand that speeding everything up is also not great for someone who like needs the routine, but gripping is like the physical thing. Like you're now putting more strain on your elbow because you're trying to get a tighter rotation, or you're gripping the shit out of a changeup to get it to drop. Like there's so many things that come with having to change how you deliver the baseball.
Right. It's like if I can hold the ball this loose, it puts a lot less strain on the elbow and whatnot. But when I have to go like this, and like you can like feel the tightness, you feel it all the way down in your elbow. I There was some report. I was I want to say it was like Pedro or somebody talked about how if I can hold my hand, relax, and still get the spin with the help of some adhesive or whatever, it's going to save my arm in the long run, comparatively to when you need to death grip it or squeeze it as hard. You're going to lose control. You're going to put more strain on your elbow, and it's going to put more strain on your shoulder. So any rotator cuff surgery that's going to happen, any Tommy John that's going to happen, I feel like with the banning of sticky stuff, we're going to see a lot more of those.
Yeah, I think I but I but what I, really what I mean is like I think that that is more to blame than the pitch clock.
Yes.
I
Oh, yeah.
think I like and Glass now saying too that like he's like, yeah, I used it. Like, are you kidding? Yeah, of course. And
Mhm.
I think that's a big thing too, is because well, I think a lot of people just don't want to admit that their favorite pitcher might have been using an aid, but like they've been using stuff since long before 2 years ago. It wasn't 2 years ago just because I think it was Trevor Bauer was the one that like basically went to war with the MLB and was like, look,
Mhm.
this is what spider tack does to a ball. And then he like went out and pitched with it and like showed how his spin rates increased significantly because of using that stuff.
Mhm.
He was like, I could be a top pitcher in the league too, but I don't use spider tack. And then he did, and he was outrageous. And
Yep.
it was kind of, I don't know, I mean, it's only one case. It's hard but they obviously took notice because
Yeah. There was other people that have been putting like science behind it where we're early in the season now, but a lot of people are going to be wearing sunscreen shortly. And there was science behind it where if you have like sunscreen all over, I'm wearing a brace, so I can't do it the example, but like if I have sunscreen on the back of my glove or right on my arm, I can go to that, go to the rosin bag, and then it creates a sticky substance, which are both legal. I don't want to get sunburned.
right,
I mean, I'm a ginger, so yeah, I really don't want to get sunburned. But I don't want to get sunburned, so I put on sunscreen. Oh, I'm a pitcher. If I have sunscreen in my hands, I'm gonna go like either try to wipe it off with my pants, go to the rosin bag, try to do something. But there was science behind it where you create almost a spider tack like substance if you go sunscreen to rosin, give it a second, and then it'll harden, and then you can grip the ball better. And
interesting.
it creates that sticky substance.
So it'll be interesting to see as we move forward in the season if the injuries slow down as more guys are applying sunscreen.
Yeah, it's it. I don't know how many people actually wear sunscreen in the major leagues, but
I'm sure a lot now that sticky stuff is.
a lot more you'll see a lot more pictures glistening from the sunscreen, and it's you. I don't know how you're gonna hide it, but like if you just like take your hat off and like put your hand here first and kind of run it through your hair, or put sunscreen in your hair and whatnot, you're gonna have to try to find a casual way to do it. But
Isn't that isn't that why Scherzer got ejected last year, one game, or like they threw him out of the game or something because he was running his hands through his hair or some shit like that?
I think he had more of he didn't have sunscreen in his hair, but there was
No, but it was like sweat. He was like, "It's just sweat," and he's like freaking out at the
yeah,
umpire. He's
yeah.
like, "It's
I remember that.
sweat."
Yeah, I remember that because there was the speculation that he had something in his hair because he kept going, taking the hat off, and
Yeah,
going like this.
I'm pretty sure that was
Uh,
against the Phillies too. I'm pretty sure that was Joe Girardi being a dumbass.
yeah, but the sweat doesn't make it as sticky as sunscreen does. But
Gotcha.
it's, I mean, sweat helps.
Yeah, I've definitely heard the whole sweat and rosin thing too. I know that that's a big one. But like anybody who thinks that their favorite pitcher wasn't using something most likely is kind of out of their mind. And especially all these pitchers that are coming up and then getting injured over the last couple of years, like they're making their debuts and then getting injured. I
Mhm.
think it's because at the lower levels you can get away with using a lot more stuff. The checks probably aren't as intense and whatnot. They probably aren't like keeping track of everyone's everything down in the dugout. Like there aren't as many cameras on everything.
No.
So I think that it probably they get away with using it more at the lower levels. They come up, they realize they can't really get away with using it, so they don't, and then they try to compensate by over gripping and bang, goodbye elbow.
I'm I'm waiting for the time of the year where people are going to be like, sunflower seeds have the effect. If you go
Oh yeah.
sunflower seeds to rosin,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's going to be accusation after accusation, but they should just. I don't want to say they should allow sticky stuff, but they should create a substance
I,
that's like a middle ground between spider tack and how sticky it is comparatively to nothing. Like you're going to give like a massive increase to spin rate? No. Do you want the spin rate that's going to hurt somebody's elbow? No. You want to find like that middle ground where it'll help the pitcher long term with their body, but won't overpower the hitter to kind of find like a happy balance.
yeah, I agree with that. I also think that it's I just like I again, I think it's crazy that like it's been used throughout all of baseball history. Like it wasn't a brand new thing. Like people have been using stuff since they could put like super glue or snot on the ball and like anything. Snot made it slippery, super glue made it stick to your fingers, put a tack, scuff up the ball. Like
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Like it's been happening for forever. And to just all at once ban the use of anything foreign is a crazy step. And also, again, I agree with what you said. If they just develop something that's developed by the league that you can use for the league that you can have tested and make sure that it's like this like whatever perfect for what you need it to be, but
Mm-hmm.
that adds some kind of stick to the ball for pitchers because they're just going to keep getting injured. And do we want more pitchers getting injured, or do we want to watch more of the best pitchers in the game pitch?
So if I was a pitcher, and I just thought about this because I currently have the Giants game off to the side, um, if the pitchers thought about it and how to way to approach their complaint, they should talk about banning the pine tar. Batters have
Yeah,
an advantage holding the bat. It's because it'll get slippery, or they'll have to grip harder, or anything else like that.
and that's a safety thing.
So I've just noticed that a guy doing the pine tar rub on the bat, and it's just like if they can get the advantage of making sure they hold on to the bat and they can do what they need to do, then pitchers should have at least a an improved substance that can help them.
I agree.
In my opinion.
I agree. I think that's why I wanted to bring it up. Pitcher injuries requiring surgery are up 30% from the All-Star break of 2022.
That's insane.
That's a lot. What did you
So,
have?
so I have a couple things based on pace of play, pace of games / rule change stats. I have more of
Oh,
a stat based thing.
okay.
So a couple things I looked up in 2023 and 2024 so far. Average time of games are at 2 hours and 39 minutes. So with the pitch clock that we mentioned earlier, they're going a little bit faster. The average for games prior to the game clock were averaging about 3 hours and 5 minutes, going back to about the year 2000. So that's about a half hour add on. And so, if you want to think about that, the breakdown for an extra half hour, you're probably rushing the pitcher quite a bit. Because if you do a half hour and 9 innings, that's an additional what if you did that's 3 minutes, a little more than 3 minutes an
Yeah,
inning.
per inning,
Yeah,
which breaks down to like 90 seconds on each at bat,
yeah,
which
which
really not at bat.
yeah,
No, 90 seconds like each team's at bat,
yeah.
which really isn't that crazy. I mean, I get again, I do understand that like it is a significant amount of time that you're cutting off, but I think that what should come more with that from a pitcher standpoint is like command issues and
Mhm.
like maybe leaving pitches in bad spots because you weren't able to get set or like inconsistencies or like and again maybe injuries because you're unable to stay in a set routine the consistent windup that you've found that keeps your body the healthiest and delivers the best results. Now you're slipping into a bad arm angle or something, and like yeah, that could lead to an injury. But I think more than anything, it should have really, and it did, from what I noticed, lead to just a whole bunch of inconsistency.
Mhm. Like one of the you said something about a windup. One of the pitchers that immediately came to mind that had a long windup was Ryan Dempster, where he would do the whole
Uh huh.
do his windup with his glove. And then you had people like Hideo Nomo that would elongate that, and
Oh
then
yeah.
in the back, and you have. I did go back to 2000 with these stats, but there was a huge like early 2000s. The average timing of the game was going about 3:15 to 3:20. So we're almost an hour up from early 2000s, but if I doing the average from 2021 to 2000 kind of brings it down closer to the 3 hour mark.
That's wow. That's a long game. I mean,
Well, then, because you have people like Nomar Garcia Parra that took 20 minutes in the box. Derek Jeter took a while. You had Ryan Dempster as a pitcher, Hideo Nomo as a pitcher. Uh, Craig Kimbrell back in the day would take forever. You had um who Papelbon that did the like you can only see my eye thing. I'm going to sit there for a while waiting for my
yeah.
time kind of thing. Like there's a lot of early 2000s players.
I will say there are few and far between more hype pitcher intros than Jonathan Papelbon coming out in Boston to shipping up to Boston. As people from New England, that's pretty fire.
I was a bigger fan of Mo coming out to Enter Sandman, in my
I
opinion.
mean, okay, yeah, if you're from New England, you're a fan of one of them.
Yeah,
I thought that Papelbon coming out, it was just cool. The whole stadium
yeah.
screaming, and Fenway is iconic. I mean, old Yankee Stadium was iconic too, but it really wow, those two in the same. No wonder the rivalry. It's
It was
also
massive.
it's so funny to me because like sorry to get off topic for a half a second, but we like grew up in the rivalry.
Yep.
And it seems so like
We
normal.
we have been alive for both curses being broken. There was the Babe Ruth curse for the Red Sox, and then the curse that was the goat curse that was on the Cubs.
Yep.
So yeah,
That's
that was
exciting. That's exciting. We've also gotten to experience Mike Trout and his entire career. And wow. And I got to experience a lot of Barry Bonds' career. You got to experience a little more of it because you were a little older.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
like
got most of his career. Yeah.
Mark McGuire,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
my
we did.
God, the kid. You got a
Those
little
were the
bit of
days.
the kid.
I got quite a bit of the kid. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
man. Anyway,
back to topic.
yeah,
With the addition of the pitch clock, I wrote this kind of as my own script. With the addition of the pitch clock, pitchers are being used more and are have more limitations on them, whether it's like the pitch count or how many innings they plan on going. Position players are now being asked to pitch more innings. So when I looked this up, I thought it was hilarious. In the last 3 years, the percentage of pitchers used that were position players were 0.33%, 0.55%, and then last year, 0.63 of pitchers were a position player. So obviously it's less than 1%, but
but
last year alone, 0.63% of pitchers
one
were
out of every 200 pitchers was a position player.
correct. The average from the years prior to the pitch clock, going back to 2000, were less than 0.1%. And
Oh my
then,
God, they're being used so much more.
correct. That's what I'm saying.
Wow,
In 2006, there were no position players used as a pitcher. Yeah,
none.
none. There's no ERA for him. There's no stats for him. There's no nothing. In 2006, not a single position player was used.
How many pitched last year? Do
Point
you have
six.
that number?
How many? I don't have the exact number of them. Hold on, let me try to. Where
Quick
did I
Google
start?
that.
Where did I have that? Where was that number?
If you can't find it, it's not a big deal. I'm sure it's massive in comparison. You know.
Yeah, I can't find it off the top of my head, but yeah, I don't know the exact number, but from between 2010 and 2000, the stat page I looked up went back to 98, but between those 12 years, it was 0.01-ish% from 98 to about 2010-ish era. But from 2010 on, it's getting more and more closer to, like you said, the one out of every 200.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So then, along with the pace of game changes, there were a large. We put in the 3-inch larger bags.
Yeah.
So I did the stats on stolen bases and stuff like that as well. Um, in 2023 and in so far in 24, there is an average of almost one attempt of a stolen base per game with a success rate of 80%. Yeah.
Wow.
The average for the years prior to the change, the average attempt for a stolen base was about 0.75 attempts per game with a success rate of only 70%. So they were stealing less and getting caught more, which I thought was interesting. With the new rule of limited pickoffs, runners have more of a chance to get a better jump and try to steal, because now you're limited to 2 pickoffs, and then on the third one, if you don't get him, he gets the free base anyways. And I think statistically it counts as a stolen base.
No, I think it's a balk.
I don't think so, because when I was looking up the stats, the balk percentage of last year was 0.003%.
Oh, okay.
So I wonder if it counts as a stolen base.
Well, it might count as a balk because I don't think after the second disengagement many pitchers were throwing over. I think that's the point. I don't think you saw many third time disengagements
Maybe.
because I think that's why the stolen base numbers went up so much because you just have to outlast two different pickoff attempts and then
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to throw over again.
So I wonder. This is a little bit off topic of my script, but it makes me wonder. All right, there's also the new rule change where you have to pitch to at least three batters.
Yeah,
That was added a couple of years ago. What if you're mid at bat and you do your two pickoff attempts, and then your manager comes out, pulls you, grabs somebody from the bullpen? Do they get two more attempts?
I don't know. That's a
Right.
weird question, Jimmy.
It's a very weird question, but it could be a massive thought process. Because, for example, you're right-handed and I'm left-handed. You got a guy that's in the box, but you're more concerned about the runner. If you're the pitcher that already did the two attempts, and we got a runner on first, do I pull you to put in a lefty from my bullpen so that way I can try to do two more attempts? And or if you can't do the two more attempts, you stall him because then you can still freeze him on a lift as a lefty, because then if you see him, then I can use my third disengage to start a rundown. Like I know that's a lot to take in right now, but
That's a weird strategy, like concept that I had never ever considered. And like, you don't even need the pitcher that's so like if I've already faced maybe say I'm a starting pitcher
yeah.
and it's top of the sixth inning, I allow a base hit. Now I disengage two times in a row and just try to get pickoffs real quick. I don't even throw a pitch to this guy who's in the box.
Mm-hmm.
And then the manager comes out, gets me, brings you in.
Right. It's I like it would probably be like a subsection to that rule change, but like it makes me wonder how many like managers are aware of that potential. Because if that's the case, if we got top nine tie ball game and I got a runner on first, I would rather have a lefty holding him on because lefties have the advantage of lifting and holding as long as they don't have their foot break the rubber. And so, with that being the advantage, I can hold you on, get you potentially in a rundown. But if I have a
Uh-huh.
righty, like, Eduardo Diaz or anybody else that's a right handed pitcher that's a closer, do I pull him for like one of the Roger brothers that's the lefty where I can hold him on? But it's a thought.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. It's something I hadn't ever considered.
So, back to this. With smaller bases, with smaller bases and less attempts and more caught stealing, changing the size of the bases has caused more runners to attempt to steal, has a better success rate, which puts more pressure. Yeah, it continues what I was saying. Continues putting pressure on the pitcher to deliver faster to the catcher and causing the catcher to have more pop time. Then if you're going to have that much pressure on the pitcher, yeah, we'll be up shortly. She's asleep. Rotisserie and noodles and vegetables. Sounds good. Not ready. Be ready in about 10-15 minutes. Okay. He's talking about dinner, dear. Um, yeah. But with that much pressure on the pitcher and the catcher, um, it could put more strain on the pitcher for their elbow, like you were talking about earlier. It puts more pressure on the catcher to have a better pop time, because we've talked off recording about how fast JT has for a pop time,
Yeah.
and some of these other catchers with their pop times. It's going to force you to have a better pitcher catcher combo and a more accurate catcher throwdown to second base with bigger bases and with the pickoff rule. So it's looking at all these stats and finding out like the percentages and whatnot were a bigger of a gap than I thought they would be.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially because we had the full year last year now to really absorb the stats from the new rule changes and everything like that, and really see how different it is compared to the averages from the past.
So this year, if they stay on pace to what they are now already, they will average out to being just about the same, maybe a little bit higher than what they were last year.
Stolen bases,
Yeah, stolen bases,
interesting.
attempts, and all that. Because the attempts last year were just shy of. No, the attempts last year were averaging one. Right now they're averaging 0.95, so just shy of one a game.
Okay,
But the success rate is higher this year than it was last year.
interesting. So maybe teams are just picking their spots better or getting better at utilizing. I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see.
It's something to keep an eye on for the year. Yeah,
Do you
and
think anybody steals over 70 bases again this year?
no,
You don't think so?
not over 70. I think the closest person's stolen base number is probably going to end up being. I'm going to throw out 62, somewhere between 60 and 65. It'll be close, but I also think it's going to be somebody that's going to have more stolen. It's not going to be an Acuna thing where he hits 40. He does 40 70. I think the person's going to be more focused on the stolen base concept.
See, I think totally opposite. And I think Whit Merrifield. Nope, that's not. Nope. Whit Merrifield. What is this? 2015?
Yeah, we started talking about old numbers and we got excited. Yeah.
Yeah, right. We're. Ooh, ooh. Uh, no.
You talking about Bobby Wood Jr.?
Yeah, Bobby Witt. I can't believe I just. I mean, a couple Royals legends coming in over here,
Yeah,
but
there you go.
I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to steal 80.
How many is he at now?
I don't care. He could have two. He definitely doesn't have two.
He has. I'm struggling. That's the last 5 games. I don't want the last 5 games. I want this. He has two. He has two
Oh,
stolen bases this year.
damn. I'm
Last
too
year,
good at this.
he had 49.
Yeah, he's going to steal 80 this year.
He had 49, but he got caught 15 times.
Yeah, I think he's going
So
to
if
get
you need
better
to
at
add that,
stealing.
that's 64 attempts.
Although, I don't know. I feel like. So I think that Trey Turner is going to steal 40 without getting caught. That's my.
Were you listening to the game today?
Yes.
Didn't you hear the stat where if he didn't fall off the base in
Yeah.
20? Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels good that it was interrupted as a Dodger against the Giants than it being bad for you when he was a Philly.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was outrageous. But,
Because they made that statement when Brandon Crawford was up at bat.
yep.
But
Yeah. How weird was that for you?
I liked seeing him strike out, but I hate seeing him strike out. I hate seeing him in a Dodger or in a Cardinals uniform, but I also just watched Nick Ahmed beat out an infield single and then score first to home. So I'm okay.
Oh,
I'm okay.
all right.
I'm okay for right now. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like the Giants are doing all right. So, all right, I guess that is going to do it for
Yeah.
episode 4
Yeah.
of the Full Count Media podcast. And this week, I know we've promised it in the past, but this week we really are going to get on it. We're going to have a couple new YouTube channels. We're going to have an Instagram that I will link that you guys can go look at shorts from the podcast and other little things that we decide to share around to you guys. And yeah, we've got stuff on the horizon. We've been busy bees with our own lives, but we're bringing it together now. Any final words?
Start looking on Twitch and potentially YouTube for Full Count Media Gaming. It might be abbreviated to FCM Gaming. It might be just FC Gaming. So if it is just FC Gaming, don't be confused that it's soccer related. Um, but I plan on trying to go live on Twitch more often with that tag. It's not going to be all baseball games that I play. There will be some that I do, some that I don't. You might have commentary from the people I'm playing with. I'm going to try to limit that as much as possible because our vocabulary sometimes isn't the greatest. But I'm going to try to stream more. I'm going to try to put out like the gaming concept for our channel. That account will probably be shared between both of us, so that way, if you decide to play like the show or any other games, then you have easy access to it as well.
Yep.
But when it comes to the gaming one, it might be more a majority of me, but there will be a link, not in, if it's not in this video, most likely in next week's video, that'll bring you to our Twitch channel and our YouTube channel. So I'll either do recording on both, or I will stream on Twitch and put the VOD onto YouTube.
All
So,
right. So yeah, that's episode 4, and we'll see the 12 of you that watch this next week.
peace.
Yo!